So we're going to pick up again with the rest of our phonics and phonemic analysis and word identification discussion. Before we go on, I want to make sure that everybody understands that phonics is only one of the word identification skills. What do we mean by word identification skills? Some books call it word identification, Wrightsville and Cooter do. Some call them word recognition skills. Some call them word analysis skills. And some call them decoding skills. So what does that mean?
The ability to recognize words.
Right. The ability to recognize or break down words, because we have to know the meaning of the words in order to know the meaning of the sentence, right? Okay, so we have different ways if we don't know what a word is, how it's pronounced, what it means. Phonics is only one of those. So if we're using our phonics skills, and I bet several of you, when you were, and I know you have because you've discussed it on a discussion board, if you didn't know a word when you were learning to read and when you were developing your literacy skills, what's pretty much the first thing that either your parent or your teacher said to you?
Do you
Sound it out, right? Okay. Sound it out helps sometimes because English, especially because English is a phonetic language, but we don't want that to be the only skill. We're spending more time on it today because it's more complicated, because it's more complex, and we've already seen when we talked about last week all of the different parts of phonic or graphophonic or phonetic analysis, that everything that's involved in phonics. But that's only one of the word identification skills because sometimes we sound out a word, but it doesn't help us figure out the meaning, right? So sometimes reading it, do you ever find yourself, even sometimes when you're reading a textbook, if you come to a long, complex word, do you sometimes say it out loud? Does sometimes hearing it help you trigger that? Like if you're reading the word metacognition, like we had in the first chapter, I'm not sure. Okay, I can say it, but now I need to break it down. So metacognition, I can say the word, but does that really help you understand the meaning of it? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, so even though we can say words, we don't always have the meaning. And our goal is meaning, right? Decoding, we said, means making meaning, right? Okay, but there are other skills. Now, we probably already knew that it wasn't a sight word. We've talked about the importance of sight words. Do all learners need a sight word base?
Yes.
And we learned that in the first chapter of the phonics book because it said what? If a student knows at least 200 sight words, they will be able to read 50% of everything they ever see in print. Remember, we said the Dolch list has 225 words, so if you've got that sight word base, so that you will be able to read the words. We also call those sight words sometimes function words. They hold the glue words. They hold the rest of our language together. We have to have the sight words like a, with, for, and, the, when, with, what, all of those. Okay, so sight words are important. All right, we use the example metacognition. Sometimes we use structural analysis. And I'm sorry, that's recorded like that, to figure out what a word means. What do we mean by structural analysis? If phonics is sounding out, I've come to a word. It's not a sight word, okay. So now try to sound it out. I can say the word metacognition, but that doesn't help me know what it means. So what's another word identification or word recognition or word analysis skill that I can use to figure out the meaning?
You like break it down.
Breaking it down, sometimes we call that chunking. Breaking it down into meaningful chunks or parts. Because if we can find a prefix or a suffix or a root word that we know, that should help us get meaning, right? Okay, so if I'm going to break this down, metacognition. Do you see a prefix? Meta, okay. And then cognition, does that help you? What does the prefix meta mean? Can you think of other words that start with meta?
Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis.
Metaphor.
Metaphor. Does that help you figure out the meaning of metacognition? It's not really a very common prefix like pre or con or anti or anything, is it? So let's look at that root word, cognition. Well, doesn't it have a suffix? What's the suffix?
Shin.
Shun. Okay, so it's a noun. That tells us it's a noun. But cognition, what does that have to do with? Your brain has to do with knowing, understanding. So we know that metacognition has to do with knowing or understanding. And what we know about the word metacognition now is it's what you understand about your knowing. It's more than knowing, okay? So it's knowing what you know about your knowing. I know that's kind of confusing, but I had a professor one time explain it as your metacognition is how you know what you know. It's not just what you know, but it's understanding when you understand. Understanding when you don't understand. Understanding when you need to find a different strategy to help you understand. Okay, so structural analysis, chunking, breaking down into parts. We also talked about the fact of context clues. So, if I had the word metacognition in the sentence right now, probably would help you a little bit more, but we don't have it in a sentence. But if we did, how could we use context clues? What do I mean by using context clues to figure out the meaning or to decode? Look at the words around it. So we look at the rest of the words in the sentence. What else is a context clue?
The sentence beforehand.
The
The sentence.
sentence before, the sentence after, the title, any pictures, any subtitles. So the context is anything else on that page or in that chapter or previous or even after. Because sometimes, have teachers told you to just, well, keep reading and see if you can figure it out?
Yeah.
That's another way of using context. I want you to keep reading because if you keep reading, hopefully you'll get enough information to help you get the meaning. All right, but sometimes that doesn't help. Sometimes it's not a sight word. Sounding it out doesn't help. We've taken it apart, structural analysis. We've analyzed the structure. We've chunked, didn't help. Context clues, sort of, but I don't know exactly. Sometimes we have to go to the dictionary, okay? Why would that not be the first thing you would want your students to do?
Because they don't give them the ability to try to figure it out on their own
Right.
and use
We
their.
want them to try to analyze on their own. We want them to try to make the meaning without going straight to the dictionary. What's another problem, though, with going to the dictionary? Are they going to find just one definition? And another, they'll find 2 or 3 or 4, probably not for metacognition, but for more common words, okay? But then also, it takes them away from the context. If I have to go to the dictionary, even if the glossary is in the back of the book, I'm going off of the page. I'm now more focused on finding that word. And what skills do you have to find a word in the dictionary?
Reading.
You've got to have reading skills. Don't you have to be able to sound that word? You got to know what it starts with. How many sounds you hear? Is it in the beginning, the middle, or the end of the dictionary? Okay, now I found it. Okay, but I forgot how it was used in the sentence, so now I got to go back and look, and now I got to go back to the dictionary, and by this point I don't care. Okay, I'm frustrated, so I need dictionary skills are good to have. We always need dictionary skills, but we want our students to use these other skills first, and then go to the dictionary skills. Okay, one other that's not as common are called configuration clues. We're going to quickly do this, then we're going to get back into our finishing up our phonics. So, configuration doesn't work for many words, but it works well for visual learners because sometimes they will look at a word and it will remind them of a picture. For example, look at the word bed. Can you see it kind of, if you drew a picture around, it looks like a bed? Sort of, kind of, okay. It's a very simplistic definition, but sometimes the simpler the better. You see how that kind of looks like a bed? Kids that are pretty much strictly visual learners can look at a word and it's like a picture. Actually, that's what your mind does when you memorize sight words. Because you don't look at the individual letters, you look at the word and see a word. F-O-R, you see the word for. You're not sounding out the letters. You know that's for. You know T-H-E is the or the. We see it like a picture. We want to give our kids the most complete toolbox that we can give them to be able to decode. Look at this word. I know this is going to be stretching it, okay, but can you sound that word out? Yes, you can sound the word out. But if we do this, you kind of see a picture of an elephant, sort of kind of with the trunk and the ears, and I promise you kids will see it, okay? You already know the word, all right? But if you're just learning to read that word, and that looks like a picture of an elephant's head to you, a trunk and ears, okay, configuration clues, that's why we don't use them a lot, but I always talk about them because that's pretty much what sight words are, and some kids are going to look at the words and see the pictures, and whatever way they can use to figure out the meaning of those words, we want them to use it. All right, we talked about the vowel blend. We talked about consonant digraphs, 2 consonant, 1 sound. Consonant blends, 2 or 3 consonants. Blended sounds, you can hear each of the sounds. We talked about vowel digraphs, 2 vowels, 1 sound. But then we were finishing up quickly talking about diphthongs. And a diphthong is like a vowel blend. That's where you have 2 vowels that come together and the sounds kind of blend. So our vowel diphthongs, maybe if I put it here, it'd be a little bit easier to see. Okay, that's 2 vowels and a glide. Some books call it a glide, and some call it a vowel blend. So the vowels that come together and give us that glide sound are O-W, O-Y, O-I, O-U. These are the ones you're going to see referenced most often, but I will tell you there are a couple of more that are not often grouped into that category, but they are. For example, the EW in the word few, you kind of hear like EU, okay? So the EW in few is considered a diphthong because you hear 2 sounds blended together. You don't just hear the E, do you? It's not fee, and we could not even give the W that acts as a vowel here, because remember the W acts as a vowel when it follows a vowel. The W is a consonant when it starts a word, but that's a little bit later. All right, so whenever you have 2 vowels that come together and you hear an odd blending of the sounds, EU, few, D-E-W. But do we, yeah, P-E-W, that will work, pew, yeah. Like a bench, a pew, okay? But do we pronounce this one, do you hear the sound in few and pew? We hear the U, right? E-U, pew, few.